Conference play is heating up for the fall sports teams, but the days are getting colder and winter sports are starting up. Where will the Quinnipiac soccer teams finish, and what will our analysts give out on their whiteboards? Find all of this coming up next on Bobcat Breakdown. Welcome to Bobcat Breakdown. I'm Nick Lewis. We have a great show for you today, and joining me at the desk are Shannen, Tierney, and Roberto Casillas. How are you guys both on this Tuesday night?
I'm doing great, Shannon.
I'm doing better. I'm ready to take down Roberto and some
Yankees
arguments.
lost. I'm sad my producer, Pat, is sad, but hey, that's...
Yankees lost, so I'm doing great.
That sounds great. Let's get started, you guys. Women's soccer is off to a decent start in MAAC play, going 3-3. They've won 2 in a row after dropping 3 straight and are 7-6 overall. How important is it for them to score first and at least control the first half of the game, especially against MAAC opponents?
I'll start this one because I want to have a good start. It's always nice to have a good start. I think it's important. You want to be the team that gets the first goal, but that's not always going to happen. I think what's more important for this team is how they play when they're down. Like when we talked to Coach Clark, he said, sometimes you can have a good start. Sometimes you can be dominating the entire first half of a game, but the other team just happens to create an opportunity where they get the first goal. Remember the Ryder game? We both agreed that that was some of the best soccer that we've seen Quinnipiac play, but then Ryder was just able to create one opportunity where they were able to score, and then after that, Quinnipiac, instead of continuing to play with the dominance that they played for that entire game, they started to play sloppy, and then they let in yet another goal, and for a game that they dominated, they lost 2-0. So I think Quinnipiac needs to start realizing that when another team scores, that's their time to step up, bounce back, and play even better and score, not let it get to their heads. I think that's what needs to be important for this team.
I agree, Shannon, that they have to start learning how to deal with adversity when they're down. But I still think it's very, very important for this team to get a good start. This team is 7-1 throughout the whole year. Not only MAAC play, 7-1 when they score first. When they're down or when they don't score first, they're 0-5. They haven't scored a single goal when they're down on the scoreboard. That just cannot happen. This team is very young, which means that they still don't know how to deal with adversity that much, or there is still a little learning curve that they still have to yet to figure out how to play when circumstances are not in their favor. But like we mentioned, you said Ryder, 31 shots. 31 shots they had against Ryder. They lost 2-0. You saw that first half. They were playing lights out. Dave Clark called it the best performance they've had all year. This team needs to start to realize that not everything is going to be in their favor every single game. They just need to learn how to play with the lead and to play from behind, and right now they don't know how to do that.
Yeah, they definitely need to learn how to play when they're down.
So men's soccer team has a top scorer and a player named Eamon Whalen. Pretty sure you guys have heard of him. So is it sustainable for women's soccer, who doesn't have a top goal scorer, to move forward without someone who's not their clear-cut scoring option?
I'll start. I think it is. I think it is very, very possible. Every single win they've had this year in the MAAC, they've won 3-0. That's a good amount of goals for any team, let alone in the MAAC. This is a team that has a lot of variables from midfield onwards. Markela Baileri, Selena Salas, Olivia Scott, Ali Grinstein, Gretchen Krohn, Lauren Wentland, and Rose Weaver, who has barely played, is a really good scoring option. They have a lot of big playmaking players. They have a lot of players that have a niche for creative, maybe not that lethal classic number 9 that soccer purists love, but they score goals by committee. And this is something that Dave Clark emphasized to us in the last press conference we had with him. And I think it's something that is very, very sustainable. Plus, they are improving. Like I mentioned, Ryder, 31 shots, no goals, lost 2-0. This past weekend, they only had 13 shots. That's less than half what they had against Ryder, but they won 3-0. So I think they're getting better. They're improving. They're still young, and I think that the season is still is still young for them to continue to improve.
31 shots, no goals. They need a player, a clutch player, that they know is going to go in and get that goal. I do agree. I think it's really important to have depth in your scoring, to have a lot of people that you know are going to score, all those people that you just mentioned. But I think if this team just had that one Eamon Whalen player, I think they could have a lot better shot of going farther in the playoffs. I think, yes, they're scoring a lot when they win, but when they lose, they're really not scoring. I think that they need someone, like I said, to come in and score when they're down, to come in like in situations when they really need it, not when they're already up 2, but when they're down 2, to come in and score. I think they need more players like that. Yes, they have a lot of depth, but they don't have that one clear goal scorer, and I think that's where they're going to find their downfall this season.
I agree, but this season, Eamon Whalen has only 4 goals. Well, only. It's not a bad stat. He has 4 goals.
I think
There are 2 players in the women's soccer team with 3 goals. That's just 1 less.
Whalen's having an off season compared to.
Okay, Thomas Vecula, the other top scorer in the men's team, only 4 goals. Olivia Scott has 3. Kelsey
The
Goldring
men's
has
team
3.
isn't doing that good though. I think it would really
They have more
make
goals.
the team better if already with the depth they have, if they had just one more player with the depth they already have, that would just is going to make that clutch goal that you know in a game like that.
Of course,
I think that would really be helping.
Of course, you want your team to have a lethal goal scorer, but Dave Clark said that that's just not going to happen. But I think they can survive with this. I think they can survive, and
They may survive, but they're not going to win the MAAC championship.
But I think it is sustainable to keep performing well without a lethal goal scorer.
All right, guys, so after a nice scoring discussion, we're going to switch over to our whiteboards. Kelsey Goldring and Olivia Scott lead the team with 3 goals each, and Selena Scales has 2. So who do you guys think will lead the team at the end of the year?
I'll take first.
Okay.
Fine. Olivia Scott. Olivia Scott is going to lead the team in goals at the end of the year. She leads them right now. Without being a striker, she finds herself in very favorable positions, in positions where she has very clear scoring chances. And Dave Clark loves playing her at the false 9 spot. She's for most of the time when they're not playing with a classic striker, she's the player that plays the most forward. So I think it is going to stay with Olivia Scott.
I could see it being Olivia Scott, but I'm going to go with Selena Salas. So there's 2 goals from the midfielder, as Nick said, and that's with not starting at the beginning of the season. That's with then going into limited minutes. So I think now that she is more at full strength, she's going to be playing more minutes. She has 4 more games. I think that she can secure a few more goals and be that leading goal scorer because she was second in goal scoring last year, only to Kelsey Goldring. So I feel like once she gets more minutes, that she'll get more goals.
Okay, agree to disagree again.
All right, guys, with 7 seniors on the team, who do you think is the most important one of the group?
You want me to start again while you finish
You're
up?
done, so.
Okay. Kylie Lance. To me, it's very simple. Happy birthday, by the way, Kylie. She is the team captain. She is the leader of the most solid block of this group, which I think is the defensive area. When this season is over, she is going to be second with most games played in the program's history with 74. And that's not counting what might happen in the playoffs. She is such a fundamental piece for Dave Clark's team, and she has been for his whole tenure here. And I think that she's by far the most important senior right now.
So I do agree defensively, and that's going to be playing moving forward. It's Lance, but Kelsey Goldring, who went down during the Monmouth game, when I saw her walk out in crutches, crutch out on senior day, I knew that the Quinnipiac Bobcats had lost their most important senior. She's a leading goal scorer for the Bobcats last year, tied currently with Olivia Scott. I really just think that the team needs her right now because as I said earlier, they're not doing well with goal scoring. That's one of their weaknesses. They've been doing great on defense. I think they really need Kelsey Goldring right now, and she's not going to be there, and I think that's going to be a big problem for this team.
All right, guys, with 4 games left in the regular season, how would you describe this season in one word?
One word. Here we go once again. Hopeful. This team gives me hope, and this season has given me hope. They have a lot of raw talent. This team has players with national team quality, as Dave Clark said. They have a lot of talent, and they've shown glimpses throughout many games this season that they can probably play as the best team in the MAAC, even better than Monmouth. They still a very bipolar team in the sense that they have a long stretches where they play really good and long stretches where they're not recognizable and they're not playing well. But I think that it shows that this is a very young team with a lot of hope for the future.
I actually said something similar to you.
Ooh.
I said that this is a building season. I don't think that this is a season where they're going to dethrone Monmouth and become MAAC champions, but they're young. There's a lot of freshmen on this team, and just a lot of underclassmen in general. Scott, Bayleri, Grunstein, Salas, and of course, Phillips, the freshman goalie. And I think that with a year of experience under their belt and even 2 years of experience now for the sophomores next year, I really think that next year could be the year that they come in and dethrone Monmouth. But this year, I really just think was a year that they all needed experience and build up the team and to grow.
All right, guys. Well, when it's all said and done, where do you think this team will place in the MAAC tournament if they make it?
I think they're going to make it, and I think they're going to go 6-3-1. Listen, I don't think this team is going to lose a single game of the last 4 they have. I think they're going to beat Manhattan and St. Peter's fairly easily, and I think they're going to tie to either Iona or Siena. So I think they're going to pass Marist and Fairfield and finish behind Monmouth and Ryder. And they're going to finish with 19 points. That's 6 more than the ones they finished with last year. They only had 13, so I think it's going to be a big improvement.
Well, I put their overall record 11-6, but I also kind of said the same thing. Third in the MAAC. First of all, Marist and Fairfield still have to play each other, so they're either going to, unless they tie that, one of them's going to win or lose to each other. And then Fairfield still has to play Monmouth and Ryder.
Good game.
So I really think that they're going to lose those. I think that if Quinnipiac wins out, which I think that St. Peter's, Manhattan, Iona, Siena, all winnable games, and they're coming off a 2-game win streak. So I think with that momentum, they'll be able to propel themselves forward, keep winning games. Once you get on a hot streak, especially more and more in games, I think it's going to be hard for them to lose. And I think that they could clutch that 3 seed if they win out, which I think they could.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, guys. Well, staying on the pitch, we'll move from women's soccer to men's soccer. On Saturday, the Quinnipiac men's soccer team drew with Niagara with no goals scored. The tie marks their 3rd of the season, while also tying UMass Lowell and the University of Albany. Do you guys see this tie against Niagara as a positive result or a negative result?
I'll take this one. So I don't think that the team should look at this tie as a negative. Yes, things could always be better. They could have won. But I think Quinnipiac played well in this game. They held Niagara to only 2 shots on goal. Well, they put 9 shots on goal. They played great defense, created scoring opportunities, and Jared Mazzola's first shutout of the year. I don't think that's a negative at all. If Niagara completely dominated Quinnipiac, they were getting countless hard shots off Mazzola. Mazzola really only had to make 1 hard diving save. If they completely dominated the game and it turned out 0-0, I would maybe say it's a negative. But I think Quinnipiac played a better match. It's their first shutout of the season. Niagara is a tough opponent. They're ranked 1 above them in the MAAC right now. I don't think that they should see 0-0 as something bad. I think they shouldn't dwell on it and just look at the positives that happened in the game.
I disagree. I think it's a little bit more negative. Not overall, don't get me wrong. I don't think this is going to be like this tells that the team is not good enough or that they can't make it. But what I'm surprised right now is that, or what concerns me the most is that this team can't score on the road. First 2 games in the MAAC, shutout. They haven't scored. And last year, only 2 of those games happened. This season already, they have those 2 games and they have 3 of them left. Here's some stats for you, Shannen. The last time that Coach DeCosta's team had more than 2 games on the road in conference getting shut out was in 2004. It was in 2004, the last time a Quinnipiac men's soccer team did not score on the road for more than 2 games. So overall, yeah, I agree with you. I'm not worried for the team, and they did play better than Niagara. They outshot them, and like you said, Masola only had to do 1 big save.
Yeah.
But still, it's a little. I get a little worried that if they can't score, they can't win on the road.
No, the goal scoring is definitely a negative, but I think that the positive thing to look at is this was the only shutout they had all season.
I agree.
So I think that is a big positive of the game, but it also is a big negative that they weren't able to get a goal.
I agree, but I think that they're going to have to start winning on the road so that they avoid a road playoff game if that happens.
All right, you guys, there are many games during the season which defines a team. Which game do you think defines the men's soccer team more? The 5-3 win at home versus Marist or the 0-0 draw against Niagara?
You want to take
No.
it? Okay, I say they're somewhere in the middle. I think that Eric DaCosta preaches to his teams that they always have to be organized, structured, well balanced. They don't really have to they start building from the back. So I doubt that an Eric DaCosta coach team is going to allow 3 or more goals in a single game. But I also think that they have the attacking abilities or prowess right now to go and score more than 3 games regularly. And I don't think many teams in the world can. Last year they only scored 3+ goals in 2 games, and they only allowed 3 or more goals in 1, and it was in the semifinal against Manhattan. So I think they're somewhere in the middle.
Well, I'm going to actually answer the question and say 5-3. So if you look at the actual, there was 3 penalty kicks in the game. So 2 of Quinnipiac's points came from penalty kicks, and 1 of Marist's points came from penalty kicks. So when there's penalty kicks, the score is going to go up. So if you just take those away, the only other time someone has scored 3 goals against them, UNH, and that's a nationally ranked team, and there's a penalty kick there too. So I think it defines them because it says if there's penalty kicks, obviously there's going to be more goals, but...
Yeah, Quinnipiac scored 2 penalties that game too, and they haven't scored
That's
at
what I
all on
said.
the road. So
They scored 3 times.
I
Minus
really don't
penalty
agree
kick.
with that, but hey,
That defines them. You didn't answer the question.
I did.
All right,
said
you
in
guys,
between.
coming up after the break, we'll look at field hockey's recent results and standings, men's ice hockey ECAC predictions, and who will replace the top goal scorer for women's ice hockey from last year. You're watching Bobcat Breakdown. Don't go anywhere.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly and put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
Welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown. We're glad you're with us. Field hockey is on a 5-game losing streak with their last win coming against Georgetown on September 27th. In their last game against Villanova, both teams had scored a goal in the first 5 minutes and carried a tie into the 43rd minute. Then Villanova scored the game winner. And guys, does the loss against Villanova end their postseason hopes?
I think we can both agree on this one. Yeah, only 4 teams make the playoffs. UConn, Liberty, Providence, ODU, they're going to make the playoffs. Quinnipiac will probably not even win out. I just don't see this happening for the Bobcats. I really just think that there's no way. I think that the loss to Villanova sealed their fate.
Yeah, like they're not mathematically eliminated, but they are. Unfortunately, this team is not yet at that point where they can go and win against playoff teams right now, like Providence and Old Dominion. And I think that this win, that this game against Villanova, like if they were to have any chance, they had to win that game. Villanova was coming here 0-3. They couldn't get the job done, and that mentally demoralizes any team. So yeah, I think we agree that unfortunately
It's
this
over.
team is not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
All right, guys, moving from the field to the ice, Quinnipiac men's hockey has won its first 2 games against AIC, 3-2 in both games. Last year, the men's team went to the NCAA tournament. Looking at the team right now, do you think they're set up for a better or worse season than they were a year ago?
Start, please.
I'm just going to make this simple. First of all, I'm sorry. I know we talked about this guy a lot last year, probably the years before I was here too, but I'm going to say his name, Chase Prisky. I do not think that this team can be better than they were last year without the skill of Chase Prisky. You take Chase Prisky off this roster, it's just not as good as a team. Look at how Quinnipiac played last year in the ECAC tournament when they lost the past captain due to 2-game suspension. They lost 2 games to Brown, a team I think they definitely should have beat. I know it's early right now. They swept AIC. They looked good. But last year they swept AIC and scored more points. So I really just think that it simply comes down to they're not with Chase Prisky. He was an amazing player. And with him off the roster, they're just not as good as a team.
I agree. They're not as good a team. It's a very, very young team, although I talked to Pat Flatley, men's ice hockey beat reporter for Q30, and he told me that leadership is not going to be a big issue because Nick Germain is a good captain. But still, they're going to have to rely heavily on underclassmen, and a lot of players are going to have much bigger roles than they had last year. The defense on that team is completely shaken up. Only Deliberatory and Cuxty are coming back. So yeah, I don't. They're going to be good, but I don't see them being as good as last year.
So with about a month of out-of-conference play and ECA games still about a month away, starting in November, what do you guys think about your extremely early predictions for this team?
Well, these are extremely early predictions. I'll let you go first, Roberto.
I think they're going to finish third on ECAC hockey. I think Cornell and Clarkson are going to finish above them. Clarkson already tied with Michigan, who although are not ranked, they're supposed to be a really good team, and Cornell is ranked number 5 in the country. It's going to be very, very competitive. It's going to be a 3-team race to the top of the ECAC conference. But I see Quinnipiac, just like we just mentioned, that them not being as good, having that image of the Brown series in the playoffs last year so fresh in my mind, with that little bit of inexperience and with so many key seniors leaving, I just think they're going to come out third in that battle. But I think it's going to be very interesting, and I think they're going to have a good shot.
Okay, since it's so early, decided to go off the USCHO polls, so I'm going to put them at second. Cornell hasn't started playing yet, so we haven't really seen much from them. They're ranked 5th, and even though I haven't seen much from them, I do think that they're going to be above Quinnipiac. And Quinnipiac's 8 and Clarkson's 10th, so I think that right now I'm going to put Clarkson behind them, simply based off the fact that Quinnipiac this weekend swept a team that was in the NCAA tournament. And Clarkson was playing a team not in the NCAA tournament, and they won and tied. So from what I've just seen so far, I'm going to put Quinnipiac at second, but it is an early prediction.
All right, coming up after the break, final roars from Roberto, Shannon, and myself. Stay tuned for more Bobcat Breakdown.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
Welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown in Studio 125. I'm Nick Lewis. To wrap up our great show, we're going to get into final rowers from Shannen, Roberto, and myself. Roberto, you start.
I'll start, Roberto. We'll keep it.
Thank you.
We'll keep it the same. This Saturday was senior day for the Quinnipiac women's soccer team, and Coach Clark decided to start senior goalie Olivia Majszewski. This may have been the last game that Majszewski will play for the Bobcats. In her Quinnipiac career, she recorded 225 saves, is a two-time MAAC Defensive Player of the Week, and she made the MAAC All-Academic Team in 2017 and 2018. Majszewski is leaving behind quite the legacy at Quinnipiac, but she will be passing the baton to another great goalkeeper. Megan Phillips, who has stepped up as a starting goalie this season, has had quite the start for a freshman goalie, recording 5 shutouts and 46 saves so far. She has an .811 save percentage, and again, she's only a freshman. The Bobcats may be losing a great senior goalie, but I do not think they're worried about their future at net.
It's a common saying in soccer. Whenever things aren't looking great, give the ball to number 10. The number 10 in soccer is generally the most talented player on the team. Think of Messi, Maradona, Pelé, Ronaldinho. All of those players wore number 10. Selena Salas is that player for the Quinnipiac women's soccer team. Salas moved from her hometown, Elche, in Spain, to chase her dream of becoming a professional player. She moved to Florida and went to one of the most competitive sports high schools in America, Montverde Academy. Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, D'Angelo Russell, and R.J. Barrett are only some of the athletes that attended that school. Salas won a national championship in Montverde and committed to Quinnipiac to play college soccer 3,500 miles from home. Now, in her sophomore season, after a standout freshman year where she earned All-MAAC rookie and second-team All-MAAC honors, the Quinnipiac number 10 looks to cement herself as a difference maker on a team that is quickly on the rise. She has national team quality, and Dave Clark has said many times that the ball should be at her feet as much as possible. So whenever things get complicated, Quinnipiac, please give the ball to your number 10. I assure you good things will happen.
Quinnipiac men's ice hockey brought 11 freshmen this season, adding to the 11 talented sophomores that are starting their second season. It's always a big jump from high school sports to collegiate sports, and some athletes show that they just better than others. The men's hockey team tied Brock University in an exhibition game and beat AIC 3-2 in 2 games. The game against Brock was meant to knock off some rust, and a lot of rust there was. Bobcats had multiple mistakes that led to fluke goals, keeping Brock in the game. These mistakes could be chalked up as inexperience by some of the freshmen, and having a large infusion of players into a team, along with these players adjusting to college hockey, could be cause for some early season struggles. Now, I'm not saying that this team won't win, but if they want to make a deep run into the postseason like they have in years past, they will have to beat big-name schools and continuously learn from their mistakes. Well, that's all we have for you guys tonight. Make sure you check out more of our content on our Twitter at Q30 Sports and head over to our website at q30tv.com. For everybody behind the scenes, Roberto, Shannen, I'm Nick Lewis. Have a great night.